Good evening. I'm political editor Dennis Welch, and this is Politics Unplugged, and we are talking elections today. And if you live in some parts of Phoenix, you've probably already received your early ballot. Now, the election we're talking about today is for the Council District 6, covering Ahwatukee, parts of Central and East Phoenix as well. And you see it here in blue. That district is currently represented by Sal DiCiccio, and Mr. DiCiccio is one of the candidates in the race, and he is with us today along with his opponent, Kevin Patterson. Thank you both for being here. Now, first of all, I just want to start off with a very general question. We'll start off with you, Mr. DiCiccio, since you are the incumbent. What are you hearing most from your from your constituents, from your voters? What's the top issues facing the city right now?
Well, there are multiple top issues. One, repaving of the streets. The other, people care about their parks. They want to make sure their parks are taken care of. They want to make sure there are enough police officers on the streets. Those are the fundamental issues that are out there right now. The public cares about what's happening in their neighborhood and what's happening around them, and that's what they care about, what impacts them directly.
And Mr. Patterson, you?
You know, whenever I'm out in the neighborhoods, I hear a lot about the moving into the neighborhoods and taking over some of the streets and the homes, and the developers pushing in. And so whenever I see that developers are disrespecting the neighborhoods and the homes of the people who have lived in many of these neighborhoods for a long time, that's something I definitely want to change, as well as public safety and staffing numbers and making sure that our response times can really protect us.
Now, I also wanted to ask you, too, since you are new, since you are the challenger, why do you think that Mr. DiCiccio is doing a bad job?
I wouldn't call it a bad job. I realize that researching what he's been doing over the years, I mean, it's a tough job. It is definitely a tough job being a city councilman. But I do think that there are a lot of results that are claimed that are not necessarily true. And I do think that we need more success in District 6.
And be more specific on that.
For example, in Ahwatukee, we've got these golf courses that are dying, that are very, very prized possessions of the Ahwatukee neighborhood. And I think that that's something that didn't happen overnight. It's not something that one day we woke up and they were dead. It is truly, in my opinion, leadership that has not stepped in to help, and it's happened over many years.
All right. Do you care to respond to that?
I would love to, because that's his job, is to challenge the the incumbent there. I get it. But if you look at it, these are just some of the accomplishments. It's 7.5 pages. If you look at the accomplishments they've been able to get through, and if you look at the neighborhood protections been able to get through, the negotiation of the Adobe golf course. We're right now in the process of negotiating the Phoenician golf course. And that is a zoning case that took place in 1979. The 24-hour permitting I put in place at the City of Phoenix, opening up a trade office in Mexico. None of those things could have been done if, I'm in the minority on the council, but I have to be able to work across party lines in order to get things done. So I've been able to get a lot of things accomplished for the district.
Okay, do you care to respond to that? He's saying he's got a long list of accomplishments. You're saying that it's not as great as it appears to be.
I don't think they can all be claimed, no. And so when I see things like I've brought 500 police officers on, that requires supporting the budget that would actually do that. And so I do think that as the council as a whole has brought 500 police officers on, but I don't think that that necessarily is based on your no vote on the budget.
Yeah, you did vote no on the budget.
Oh, I know I did, because the budget itself deals with the structural deficit at the City of Phoenix. And as everybody knows, I am a fiscal accountability individual. I want to make sure things are done right. And the budget was fiscally unsound. You can't vote for something like that.
But you do say that you want more police officers, and then you vote against budgets.
Yeah, but Dennis, the vote that occurred for the police officers occurred in October of 2015, when we had approximately 2,500 police officers. We have about 2,816 today. The goal is to hit 3,129, and I believe we need to go further than that, and that's to get to 3,400 police officers.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about the budget, because the city is looking at what $43 million to $64 million budget deficit next year. What kind of plans do you have to offset that? Are we talking about cuts, and if so, what do you cut?
I think we need to cut the tax breaks that we give to corporations that don't agree to livable wages. I also think we need to not give developers the incentives. For example, the $9 million incentive to Roosevelt Row that only brought 5% of affordable housing to it. I think that we're wasting money by giving tax breaks to those who don't support our city.
It's an interesting idea to only do business with companies that provide a livable wage, which I believe is over $15 an hour. Is that something you support or no?
No, you can't do that. Matter of fact, Kevin and I are almost pretty close on this item. I think we ought to cut all corporate welfare, period. It ought to be cut. It doesn't need to be tied to anything else. The other thing is the type of job growth you want to have is you want to be open to everybody, open up to business. You want to be able to bring people in. You can't tell a business owner what they want or what they should be doing. The only way you can do that is to encourage them. You don't encourage them with monies. You just don't encourage them with a great business climate that we have in the city of Phoenix.
So why not, though, support companies that pay their workers a decent wage?
Well, how would you support them? With financials? With giving taxpayer monies? I would strongly disagree with that.
I'll ask Mr. Patterson how would you go about accomplishing that?
Well, I think there's a few things. I think, first of all, we need to commit to sustainability to Phoenix. I think we need to keep businesses that can keep finances and tax revenues in Phoenix. And whenever we, supplement and bring in large corporations that don't necessarily do that, I don't think that helps us. So for me, I have a really strong passion for local businesses, and I think it would be creating finance options to where it's just as acceptable and just as equitable for local businesses to expand that we do for our large businesses.
Now, I want to get back to the idea of police officers. Now, look, recent statistics have showed there has been a slight uptick in crime. Now, this has happened under your watch, Mr. DiCiccio.
That's right.
So what do you plan on doing about that?
Well, we've already done that. We've already started hiring. We're hiring about 26 to 28 police officers a month. Is happening through the process right now. We started this back in 2015. I've been advocating since 2010 to start it sooner than that. But, like Kevin talked about, you got to get the rest of the council on board. Myself and Councilman Waring and I believe Councilman Nowakowski, there were three of us that were pushing this agenda of hiring police officers faster. Even though we're going to hit the mark of 3,129 officers, which is 600 or 580 more officers than we are when we first started on it, we need to go further than that because I don't think that's going to be enough.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I believe it's not going to.
And how do we afford to get more police officers on the streets, considering that we're looking at some pretty steep budget deficits next year?
Number one, I think we have to prioritize it. Whenever it's not a priority, I think that sends a message to the public that their public safety is not top priority. Number two, for the 219 police officers, that's already done. We would not have to raise any more money. We have that. That it really is about reallocating the resources to places like Ahwatukee who are grossly underserved.
Okay, and Mr. DiCiccio, you've talked a lot about pensions and the growing problem and the cost to the city. Isn't it fair to say then if you're going to be adding more police officers, isn't that adding more to that problem long term, this pension problem that you've been talking about a lot?
Not at all, because you could, you've got to, Kevin and I agree on this, and he's absolutely correct on this. We've got to prioritize police officers, and that is the primary function that you have in government. And it's not just Ahwatukee, it's Arcadia, it's Biltmore, North Central. Everybody is short police officers right now. And in order to get more officers, you've got to cut the waste out. There are multiple things you can do. The first thing you have to do is cut out the waste. The city of Phoenix spends over $5 million a year on lobbying fees, public relations, and things like that. That's $5 million a year that could be used for police officers. Second thing is you've got to do is put together a strategic plan, prioritizing the most important functions to the least important functions, and then making a determination on those lower level functions of, is that a function you want to do? Is it not a function that the city should be doing? And if it's a function the city should be doing, is it something that we should be doing internally or hiring someone from the outside?
Okay, and this has been a pretty cordial debate so far. I want to thank you both for that. But early on in this campaign, you accused Mr. DiCiccio of bullying. You said that he had called your work and said that Banner Health, and that you accused him of saying that they could lose or threaten their charitable status. Do you still stand by that?
I do. I stand by that. And again, I don't know who from the campaign, and that was never released, and that was not ever part of it. But I do know that I was called into question about making sure that you do exactly what you need to do, because it has been questioned that we need to make sure that you keep your public and your private life separate. And so we've definitely had to make sure that I can be at work full-time and campaign full-time.
That's a pretty strong accusation that you or somebody from your campaign is threatening Banner Health just because he's a political opponent.
Well, Kevin made that up. As far as I'm concerned, that just never happened. The other thing is being called into your employer and them asking you to, Kevin, I mean, really, employers do this. They call you in and they say, hey, look, let's make sure everything's done right. I don't know what occurred, who made that conversation, but you said that there was documentation. There's no documentation. There's nothing. You've never proved anything. All you've done is accuse me. It's just not true.
He's calling you, he's basically saying you made it up. He's saying that you lied.
I know.
He's saying that you lied.
He did. And so I just have to go back to the results that have been brought up, that this is a tactic that you use to get your way. And I just need to make sure that you know that when that happened, that really was below the line. And this is a tactic that you've been called out for. And so it's not surprising.
So now it's another broad scope of, oh, look at what you've been accused of before. And all of it, it's just unsubstantiated. Where's the proof that this actually occurred, Kevin? Where? Where did it happen?
Banner Health
it's
made their
offensive.
comment.
It's offensive on my who? Who? Provide your documentation. Who it is. Nobody from my campaign called. period.
Okay.
All right. Now let's move on here. One quick question, too. There's a lot of talk about sporting arenas and projects out there. Diamondbacks, Suns, everybody seems to be looking for new arenas. What's the city's role in something like that?
Oh, I definitely think it is to weigh the pros and cons and see what sort of revenue that could generate for the city. And so at this point, I don't feel like I have enough data to be able to answer on that.
And I have to ask you, too, Mr. DiCiccio, since you're currently on the council.
Call me Sal. It's a lot easier.
Mr. DiCiccio,
Okay.
we'll just keep it professional here.
Right.
I have to ask you, too. There is a lot of talk right now that the current mayor, Mayor Stanton, may be stepping down soon to run for Congress. Can you look the voters of District 6 in Phoenix, your voters, right now in the camera and say that you will not be running for mayor should that open up? There's been a lot of speculation since you have nearly $500,000 in your campaign account that you may be eyeing a run for mayor. Will you commit to 4 years in office if reelected?
Well, I've learned a long time ago never to say never to anyone, so I can look the voters in the eye and say I'm running for District 6, and this is where I've been. I've never had any intentions of running for mayor. I've never had any, well, I've had at one time running for Congress, but that's gone now that I've got children. I mean, they're my primary focus, and that's what we also agree on. But at the end of the day...
So you're keeping open, you're keeping a mayoral run open?
Well, it's like slim to none on that. And then on the Suns arena, if I could, I'm completely opposed to a new arena. We need to rehab the arena we're in. It's worked well since 1987, and it can continue to work well.
Okay, we're almost out of time here, so I want to give you guys about 15 seconds for a final word here.
This has been a wonderful experience to learn about all of the diverse needs that are in District 6. It's a really challenging district for sure. There's a lot of different communities, and I just am so excited to represent the people. I think the people matter.
Mr. DiCiccio?
The best way to look and see what someone's going to do in the future is to look what they've done in the past. If they look at my record, my list of accomplishments, like I said, 7.5 pages, single-spaced, from the Adobe golf course, 24-hour permitting, eliminating the food tax, all these things had to be done by working across party lines.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for this segment. I want to thank you both for coming here for this debate. But we do have more to come here on Politics Unplugged. Just ahead, we turn to education. Some of the most influential business leaders in the state say we need to boost spending, and they are looking at a tax increase to make that happen. Business taxes in the state of Arizona education right after the break. And one U.S. senator says John McCain's vote on repealing Obamacare may have been the result of his own health issues. Questions about whether a diagnosis of brain cancer sunk the Republican agenda. Still on Politics Unplugged.
Bristol night race, quintessential short track.
Running it at night brings out the most aggression in guys.
Bristol, when you're able to win there, especially the night race, there ain't nothing like it.
August 19th at 4 on 3TV.
On average, there are over 10 car accidents every minute in the U.S. If you've been hurt in a wreck, don't just be another number.
Pick up the phone and call us now. We'll get you every dollar you deserve.
Learn is the way to go. Call 977-1900.
It's my summer vacation, but my work is never done. And what can I do for you?
Santa, I know it's the summer, but I want new flooring for Christmas, and I just don't know if I can wait.
Express Flooring is having their Christmas in the Summer sale, where you can save 68% on new flooring, get a lifetime warranty, and call today, say Merry Christmas, and receive an additional 10% off.
Oh, Santa!
Call Express Flooring.
Express Flooring is the best. Call 800-EXPRESS.
This is all that was left from my accident. And that wasn't even the worst part. Whew, the pain in my neck and back was gnarly.
Nobody plans to be in an accident, but unfortunately they happen. If you're suffering a pain, call Emergency Chiropractic. They will treat you with no deductibles, no copays, and no out-of-pocket costs.
And now, I feel great.
Emergency Chiropractic, the kind of care you want today.
Buckle up.
Refresh yourself with a Polar Pop Cup from Circle K. It stays cold longer, and we offer more choices than ever before. More choices like Powerade, vitamin water, iced tea, and full throttle. Ready for the best part? You can get any size foam Polar Pop Cup for only 89 cents every day. More choices than ever before. Talk about refreshing. More choices, most value. At Circle K.
Every single client that is calling us is looking for help and understanding of the process. And we're there to have that listening ear and to give them some direction and then to aggressively fight for them when that time comes.
977-1900.
And welcome back to Politics Unplugged. And joining us today is Neil Giuliano. He is the president of the Greater Phoenix Leadership Now. This is a group of business leaders heading up some of the biggest companies in our state. And one thing that we all see that is in common is a lot of these business groups are saying that we need to spend more money on education. And seems like every metric that ever comes out, every study that comes out on K-12 education, Arizona seems to be at the last, whether it be teacher pay, whether it be teacher salary,
yes.
or, classroom tests and stuff like that. So what needs to happen first and foremost?
Well, you've identified what many in the business community are clearly articulating now, which is the need to address the funding issue with regard to education, not just K-12 education, although primarily K-12 education, but the full spectrum of primary through grades 20 in college, community college. So it's a very big topic, and many business leaders, I'm pleased, are starting to speak out about that.
Now talk to us about your role, the business community's role in the expansion of Proposition 301. Now this was something that was passed quite a number of years ago by voters that would include...
Almost 20.
Yeah, almost 20 years ago. It's a tax. It goes to education now. It's set to expire, I believe, in 2021.
Correct. It's going to expire in 2021.
And first of all, what would happen if it did expire, and what are you guys doing about it?
Well, I don't think the state of Arizona and the business community and all of the stakeholders involved will let that happen. We know that that cliff is coming in 2021, so it's incumbent upon all of us, business, education, our political leadership, to come together to talk about what kind of plan needs to be formatted, to talk about the content of that plan, and then proceed with a process that allows us to get that back to the voters for their approval and their support before 2021.
Now, let's talk too about teacher pay and whatnot. That's also been a really big issue.
Sure.
Now, we ran some stories last week about where we're at near the bottom, and just to get Arizona up into the mid part, the average area of teacher pay around the country could cost the state billions and billions of dollars every year just to do that.
Right.
Is there any hope of changing our status in this state of getting teachers a little bit more money?
Well, we hope so, and we know that we have to do that. The teacher flight out of Arizona is a serious issue, and teacher retention is directly related to teacher pay. Teachers right now can go to Nevada, they can go to California, they can go to Colorado, and they can get a better deal. So we have to come together with a plan, a sustainable long-term plan to keep people in Arizona, and then also address the shortage of training teachers. The talent pipeline right now for teachers who are in school to become teachers in Arizona is way, way under. And so we need to be working on that end of it as well. And so what I'm hearing from members of GPL, who are the leading CEOs of 100+ organizations in the greater metropolitan Phoenix region, is that we need a plan. These are all significant, successful business people who would never operate their businesses that way. They know that we need a plan to address this problem.
And the bottom line is a lot of CEOs, companies are worried that Arizona is not going to be able to provide them the talent they need to run their operations, correct?
That's exactly the situation. This is an issue of workforce development. It's an issue of making sure we have a trained labor force to perform all the different jobs that are all throughout our economy in Arizona. So it really is a vital issue.
Now, is there any one plan that all these business leaders are really coalescing around at this point?
It's too early yet, I think, for that to take place. I think there will be some significant conversations starting to take place in the fall and into the spring. What's really important, and the one thing that we know, Dennis, there is no one thing. There's going to be a myriad of ideas and plans that need to come together and be formulated into a single plan. It has to address the teacher pay issue. It has to address the full-day kindergarten issue. It has to address the capital funding issue for K-12 education. It has to address university research and community colleges. So it's not just like we can say, oh, we know we need more money, let's just go to the voters. That would be foolhardy in my view. We need to be thoughtful, we need to be planning very diligently about this, and we need to make sure, and this is very important, that all of the stakeholders are at the table and involved in creating the plan.
Now, getting back to Prop 301 and that extension, but some people are saying that they want to increase the tax there as well as extend this tax.
Sure.
We're talking about a 0.6% on that tax right now. What are business leaders looking at right now? How much would they like to hike that?
Well, I don't think there's any one view on that, but there are views all the way from take the 0.6 to a full penny, to take the 0.6 to adding a full cent and make it 1.6.
What would one whole cent bring in for education?
Roughly about $1 billion. and then you could start to address some of the issues. But as you indicated earlier, these problems have been going on for a long time. The challenges have been unmet for a long time, and so it's incumbent upon all of us in the political environment, the business environment, the education environment to come together, create a plan that we can all agree on, and take it to voters.
All right, well, we'll just have to leave it there. But thanks a lot for stopping by.
Thank you.
We have lots more to talk about here on Politics Unplugged. Just ahead, a fellow senator says John McCain's health may have been what sunk the repeal, and lots of questions about how to deal with North Korea. Some say President Trump's tough talk is the right message. Others wonder if it will lead to war. More Politics Unplugged just ahead.
We had such a great experience with Empire, we would recommend it to anyone.
Real customers share their stories about Empire today.
The customer service and the personal touch was really where it's at.
And now with Empire's half-price sale, get half-price carpet, hardwood, tile, vinyl, and laminate, plus half-price installation.
We'd had people come in our home and say, wow, this is really beautiful. Where'd you have it done? Empire.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Today. No contract, no risk, no catch with Cox High-Speed Internet. Call today and do everything you love online with Cox High-Speed Internet, starting at only $29.99 a month. Cox High-Speed Internet delivers the super fast speed you need to surf, stream, and download, with speed options up to 300 megabits per second. Plus, with most plans, you'll have free access to more than 500,000 Wi-Fi hotspots around town and when you travel. And Cox High-Speed Internet is now available with new panoramic Wi-Fi that blasts super fast internet across your entire home. There's no contract, and it's all backed by our 30-day money-back guarantee. So it's absolutely risk-free with a guaranteed 2-hour appointment window. With Cox High-Speed Internet, get blazing speed at a great low price, starting at just $29.99 a month. And ask about wall-to-wall fast panoramic Wi-Fi, our best in-home Wi-Fi. Call today.
If you just sign that first
I'm
one
so
there.
sorry. I don't feel comfortable signing that.
I don't get the math here.
Was this the same car we talked about?
What's this dealer preparation fee?
I'm so sorry. This just is not.
What we talked about.
Get the car without the car salesman. Carvana.com, the better way to buy a car.
If you or a loved one has mesothelioma or any other asbestos-related cancer, call now. Asbestos manufacturers sold deadly asbestos materials to thousands of companies, putting workers at risk. An estimated $30 billion in court-ordered trusts have been set aside to pay out claims to asbestos victims. You may be entitled to a portion of these funds and receive compensation without filing a lawsuit or ever going to court.
For your free legal consultation, call 1-800-214-5036. That's 1-800-214-5036. I'm a non-attorney spokesperson.
And welcome back to Politics Unplugged. It is time to talk it out with our partners from First Strategic, and with us today, Barry Dill and Marcus Dellartino. Thanks a lot for stopping by again. We have to start with the big news of the week. I mean, it's just really a bombshell here in the political world in Arizona. It's the talk about Kyrsten Sinema maybe jumping into the Senate race to win the Democratic nomination and ultimately possibly challenge Jeff Flake in the general election. Talk to us about what this means for the state at this point.
Well, for the state, it would be a great thing. Kyrsten Sinema has really shown herself to be a very level-headed, pragmatic legislator. And but what I think is really interesting about all of this is I'm not sure that it's Kyrsten raising the specter so much as it might be others who might think they might want to replace her in her congressional seat. So there's already jockeying going on about who might replace her in that congressional 9 district, which, as we know, is almost split. Even.
And Marcus, break this down for us. She obviously would be the heavy favorite to win the Democratic nomination. She'd be running against Deidre Abad. But what is her strengths? What is her weaknesses in a general election at this point?
Well, she's been in a district that's been in the middle, right? She's a Democrat that's actually in a Republican district by a small percentage points, but she's been one of the members in Congress who's been in the middle on almost every issue. And, I think that's going to play well for her statewide. But I will tell you this, I don't think it's as big of a bombshell as everybody else thinks it is. One, because it hasn't been confirmed. What she has said to the AP is, I'm studying it, I'm looking into it, and she's been saying that for months. So that's not new news.
Yeah, others are making a much bigger deal out of this
if I'm reading the story correctly, I think that Mayor Stanton's people are probably leaking this to close down any more
Well, what I was going to say about that is she may be just looking at that, but other people are making a big deal about it. Other people are making plans about that, including Mayor Greg Stanton. I did talk to former Mayor Phil Gordon, who told me a conversation he had with Stanton, and Mr. Stanton told him, he said, look, I hear Kirsten is running. If she does, I'm jumping in and I'm running for Congress.
I think what this is all about, this all started around the time of the announcement of Senator McCain's cancer. Speculation unnecessarily started flying around. Then it came with the release of the Senator Flake book being critical of Donald Trump. And now all of a sudden, I think Senator Flake looks even more vulnerable than
let's talk about
on both sides, both in the primary and the general election than he did before.
And let's talk about that primary election. I want to show you a graphic here that some Arizonans getting some pretty interesting pieces of mail from Mr. Flake's opponent, Kelly Ward. You can see it here in a moment. I think we got it up. There it is. You can see her holding up. This is Kathy Griffin holding up what appears to be the severed head or mock severed head of President Trump.
We probably should have done a disclaimer before that went up on screen.
So why would she send this out? What is she hoping to get out of all of this?
Look, it's shock value. And it's a competition in your mailbox. What are you going to pick up and look at? And it works in this particular case. I mean, it made me jump out of my chair. It terrified me. But
I would ask for my money back.
She's asking for money, and that's but the way she's going about it with the shock factor to raise money. The problem is your return on these mail pieces is not as much as you're spending on it. So you're actually losing money long term.
The mail firm is the one that makes the money.
Right.
And she ran against. She in her letter she decries the Washington establishment. Yet we know that this is a Washington mail house because of the zip code on the envelope where it came from. It came from Washington D.C. Okay. So that's hypocrisy.
Now, I want to move on to some other national news here. One senator had this interesting take on Obamacare and why it failed. Now, according to Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, he suggested that it was because of, it wasn't a bad bill, but because John McCain's health. I want you to take a listen and get your reaction on the other side.
Again, I'm not going to speak for John McCain. He has a brain tumor right now. That vote occurred at 1:30 in the morning. Some of that might have factored in.
What is going on here?
It's just a stupid statement. It shows this guy's a twit. I mean, look, John McCain gave a speech.
Totally right.
Right before the vote and told you exactly what it was all about. And making stuff up is just, it's hilarious at this point to watch these people try to be relevant.
Okay, now a couple of questions here about Donald Trump here. Obviously, maybe he's looking now at possibly returning to the Valley maybe the week of August 21st. The Phoenix Convention people confirmed that his people are looking at that. What's that mean for Arizona? What's that mean for candidates here? Like Kelly Ward?
I think what it is a big kick in the behind to Senator Flake, and that the Trump team is very seriously about spending some resources and time in Arizona to try to defeat Senator Flake, which, again, if Representative Sinema gets in this, could not have the result that they want, because they could end up with a Democrat in the Senate.
Okay, and Marcus, we got about 15 seconds left. I want your final word on Donald Trump and his hot rhetoric when it comes to North Korea. Is this dangerous, or is this some sort of a scare tactic that could work?
It's both. It's totally dangerous, but it could be a scare tactic. Look, if you're negotiating with the crazy man, the craziest in the room usually gets what they want, because the sane person knows that bad things can happen. So, yeah, it's a little bit of both.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. That's all the time we have tonight. Be sure to join us next week for more Politics Unplugged. Good night.